Walking through the golden light of a late afternoon, have you ever noticed how the dust motes dance in a single stray beam of sunshine? We often spend our lives waiting for the grand symphony, the massive achievements, or the life-changing milestones that we believe will finally grant us the permission to be happy. We treat joy like a destination at the end of a long and grueling marathon, imagining it as a glittering trophy waiting on a distant pedestal. Yet, if we pause for just a breath, we might realize that peace is not found in the arrival, but in the very texture of the air we breathe right now. It is in the coolness of water against our skin, the rhythmic sound of a distant wind chime, or the simple weight of our feet connecting with the earth. The essence of a meaningful life often hides in these ordinary moments that we so frequently overlook in our rush toward a future that never quite arrives. Think about the way a single flower blooms in the crack of a concrete sidewalk. It does not wait for a perfect garden or a professional caretaker to validate its existence. It simply offers its color and its fragrance to the world because that is its nature. This is much like the hidden grace within our daily routines. When we wake up and feel the warmth of the blankets, or when we hear the first bird song of the morning, we are being invited into a state of gratitude that requires no special occasion. The beauty of the Buddhist path is not always found in deep meditation caves or complex rituals, but in the quiet awareness we bring to the act of folding laundry or sipping a cup of warm liquid. It is a gentle reminder that every second is a fresh opportunity to reconnect with the miracle of being alive. There is a beautiful account from the time of the Buddha involving a simple man named Panthaka. He was not known for his intellect or his ability to memorize complex verses. In fact, he struggled so much with learning that he could not even remember a single line of teaching. While others were debating deep philosophical points, Panthaka felt lost and unworthy. He sat weeping because he felt he had nothing to offer and no way to find peace. The Buddha did not give him a thick book or a difficult lecture. Instead, he handed Panthaka a clean white cloth and told him to sit in the sun and simply wipe his brow while repeating two very basic words about removing dirt. As Panthaka performed this mundane task, he began to notice how the cloth became soiled and how the act of cleaning was a continuous process. In that very ordinary act of wiping and observing, his mind became calm and clear. He realized that the stains on the cloth were like the fleeting thoughts and heavy emotions that cloud our true nature. By focusing entirely on that simple, repetitive movement, he found a profound stillness that the scholars could not find in their books. This story reminds us that we do not need to be extraordinary to experience the sacred. We only need to be present. When you are washing your hands, can you feel the sensation of the bubbles? When you are walking to your car, can you feel the shift of your weight? These are the gateways to a quiet joy that no one can take away from you. We live in a world that constantly tells us we are not enough as we are. Advertisements suggest that we need a newer gadget, a better job, or a more exciting social life to be truly content. This creates a constant internal noise, a persistent humming of what if and if only. We become like travelers standing in a magnificent forest, but instead of looking at the ancient trees and smelling the moss, we are staring at a map, worried about the next turn. The practice of cherishing the ordinary is about folding that map and looking up. It is about recognizing that the cup of tea in your hand is the most important thing in the universe at this very moment. Consider the simplicity of a smile shared with a stranger or the way the moonlight rests on the floorboards of your room at night. These things cost nothing, yet they are the true currency of a wealthy heart. When we stop demanding that life be spectacular, we suddenly find that the spectacular has been following us all along. It was there in the steam rising from a bowl of rice and in the quiet interval between two thoughts. There is a deep, resonant comfort in knowing that we do not have to perform or achieve to be worthy of this peace. It is our birthright, tucked away in the pockets of our everyday existence. There was once a young seeker who traveled far to find a famous master. When he finally arrived, he asked the master to show him the ultimate truth of the universe. The master was busy tending to a small vegetable patch. He looked up, wiped the soil from his hands, and asked the young man if he had eaten his breakfast yet. The seeker was annoyed, thinking this was a trivial question. He insisted that he wanted to discuss high philosophy. The master simply said that if he had eaten, he should go wash his bowl. In that moment, the seeker felt a flash of frustration, but as he stood by the stream washing the ceramic surface, he understood. The ultimate truth was not in a hidden scroll or a secret mantra. It was in the direct experience of the water, the grip of his fingers, and the act of completing a task with full attention. To wash the bowl just to wash the bowl, without rushing to the next thing, is a form of deep prayer. It is an act of honoring the life we have been given. Why do we find it so hard to stay in these moments? Perhaps it is because our minds are like restless monkeys jumping from branch to branch, always seeking the sweetest fruit on the next tree. We are conditioned to believe that the present is just a bridge to get us somewhere else. But what if the bridge is the destination? What if the simple act of breathing in and breathing out is the highest form of success? When we shift our perspective, the mundane becomes magical. A rainy day is no longer an inconvenience, but a rhythmic dance of nature that nourishes the earth. A long queue at the market is no longer a waste of time, but a chance to practice patience and observe the diversity of human life around us. Everyone we encounter is carrying a heavy bundle of stories, dreams, and fears. When we look at them through the lens of simplicity, we see ourselves. We see the same longing for kindness and the same capacity for a quiet laugh. This shared humanity is a beautiful thread that weaves through our ordinary hours. We can choose to be the person who brings a little bit of light into a room, not by doing anything grand, but by simply being fully there. Your presence is the greatest gift you can offer to yourself and to others. It is a steady flame in a windy world. Think of the trees that stand outside your window. They do not strive to be taller than their neighbors out of vanity. They grow at their own pace, drinking the rain and soaking in the light. They are perfectly content to just be trees. We can learn so much from this quiet acceptance. We spend so much energy trying to be someone else, or trying to fix parts of ourselves that we think are broken, that we forget to appreciate the unique rhythm of our own souls. There is a profound happiness in dropping the heavy armor of expectations. When we let go of the need to be impressive, we become authentic. And in that authenticity, even the most basic interactions take on a glow of sincerity. There is an old story of a monk who was known for his incredible peace. People would come from miles away just to watch him walk or eat. One day, a visitor asked him what his secret was. The monk replied that when he walks, he walks. When he eats, he eats. The visitor was confused and said that everyone does those things. The monk smiled and shook his head softly. He explained that when most people walk, they are already at their destination in their minds. When they eat, they are already thinking about their work or their worries. He was the only one truly there with his feet on the path and his food on his tongue. This level of focus transforms a routine into a ceremony. It turns a chore into a meditation. We can apply this to every corner of our lives. When you are listening to a friend, listen with your whole heart, not just your ears. Don't wait for your turn to speak, but truly soak in their words and the emotions behind them. This is how we build roots that are kind and strong. This is how we cultivate a garden of inner tranquility that can withstand any storm. The world often feels loud and chaotic, full of demands on our time and attention. We are pulled in 1,000 directions by notifications, obligations, and the internal pressure to keep up. But in the middle of that whirlwind, there is a center of gravity that is always still. We find it when we notice the texture of a leaf, the smell of old books, or the way the shadows lengthen as the day turns toward evening. These moments are like small anchors that keep us from being swept away. They remind us that we are part of a much larger, more ancient story. When we look back at our lives, it is rarely the big awards or the expensive purchases that we remember with the most warmth. Instead, it is the memory of a quiet evening by a fire, a long walk with a loved one where nothing much was said, or the relief of a cool breeze on a humid day. These are the sparks that light up the darkness. If these are the things that matter most in the end, why do we wait until the end to value them? We can choose to value them today. We can choose to see the wealth in our poverty and the light in our shadows. Imagine a world where we greeted each day not as a list of tasks to be conquered, but as a series of small wonders to be discovered. The morning mist becomes a mystery, the sound of traffic becomes an urban song, and the exhaustion at the end of the day becomes a testament to our participation in the world. This is not about ignoring the difficulties of life, for life will always have its challenges. It is about choosing where we place our focus. Just as a photographer chooses what to include in the frame, we can choose what to include in our awareness. If we focus only on the weeds, we will miss the wildflowers. If we focus only on the cracks in the wall, we will miss the way the light hits the paint. There is a gentle discipline in training the heart to look for the good. It is a habit that grows stronger with use, like a path through a field that becomes clearer the more we walk upon it. Each time we acknowledge a small joy, we are planting a seed of contentment. Over time, these seeds grow into a forest of resilience. I remember a story of a grandmother who kept a jar of beans in her pocket. Every time something pleasant happened, no matter how tiny, she would move one bean from her right pocket to her left pocket. At the end of the day, she would sit and count the beans in her left pocket, reliving each small moment of grace. Sometimes it was just the taste of a fresh apple, or the sight of a colorful butterfly, or the fact that her knees didn't ache as much that day. By the time she went to sleep, she felt like the richest woman on earth. We can all carry a mental jar of beans. We can count the times we felt a spark of connection or a moment of ease. This practice changes the very chemistry of our days. It moves us from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of abundance. We start to see that the universe is constantly whispering invitations to us, asking us to join in the quiet celebration of existence. There is a natural rhythm to life, much like the tides of the sea. There are moments of high energy and moments of quiet receding. We often try to force ourselves to be in a state of constant growth and constant output. But the earth itself needs the winter to rest and prepare for the spring. Our ordinary, quiet moments are our internal winter. They are the times when we gather our strength and let our spirit settle. To sit quietly and do nothing is not a waste of time. It is a necessary act of restoration. In that silence, we can hear the whispers of our own wisdom. The Buddha once spoke about the importance of being like a solid rock that is not shaken by the wind. This doesn't mean we become cold or unfeeling. It means we have a foundation that is so deeply rooted in the present that the external world cannot easily topple us. When our happiness is based on large, external events, we are at the mercy of chance. But when our happiness is based on the simple appreciation of the here and now, we are truly free. No one can take away the sunset, and no one can take away the peace you find in your own breath. This freedom is accessible to everyone, regardless of their circumstances. You don't need a high position or a lot of money to notice the beauty of a raindrops on a window pane. In fact, sometimes the more we have, the harder it is to see these things because we are so busy protecting what we own. Simplicity is a great clarifier. It sweeps away the clutter and leaves us with what is essential. When we have less to worry about, we have more room to wonder. Have you ever watched a child play with a cardboard box? To them, it isn't just a piece of trash. It is a castle, a spaceship, a mountain, and a home. They possess the magic of imagination and the ability to find total absorption in the simplest of objects. As we grow older, we often lose this capacity. We become literal and narrow in our views. But that child still lives within us, waiting to be rediscovered. We can reclaim that sense of wonder. We can look at the world with fresh eyes, as if we are seeing it for the very first time. The texture of your clothing, the warmth of the sun on your arm, the sound of your own heartbeat are all incredible mysteries if we really think about them. We are biological miracles moving through a vast cosmos on a spinning blue planet. When we remember this, even the act of walking to the mailbox becomes an epic journey. The ordinary is only ordinary because we have labeled it so. If we remove the labels, everything becomes extraordinary. There is a profound sense of relief that comes when we stop trying to make it and realize that we have already arrived. We are here. We are breathing. We are aware. That is enough. The search for something more is often the very thing that prevents us from enjoying what we have. It is like a person who is looking for their glasses while they are already wearing them. Once, a monk was asked what he did before he became enlightened. He said he chopped wood and carried water. Then he was asked what he did after he became enlightened. He gave the same answer: he chopped wood and carried water. The tasks were the same, but his relationship to them had changed. He was no longer doing them to get them over with. He was doing them with a heart full of presence. The wood was more vibrant, the water was cooler, and his soul was at peace. We can bring this same transformation to our daily lives. We can cook our meals with love, we can clean our homes with care, and we can speak to our families with kindness. These small acts are the building blocks of a beautiful life. They are more powerful than any grand gesture because they are the steady heartbeat of our character. In the ancient scripts, it is said that the way we do one thing is the way we do everything. If we are rushed and careless with the small things, we will likely be the same with the big things. But if we bring a sense of sacredness to the small things, our whole life becomes a sacred act. This is the path of the kind roots. It is about nourishing the hidden parts of ourselves so that the visible parts can flourish. As we move through our day, let's try to find at least 3 tiny things that we usually ignore. Maybe it is the sound of the kettle boiling, the feeling of a soft towel, or the way a shadow falls across a table. Let's stop for 5 seconds and just notice them. Let's offer a silent thank you to the universe for these small graces. This simple practice can shift our entire mood and help us feel more connected to the world around us. There is a quiet joy in knowing that we don't have to be perfect. We are all works in progress, like a piece of pottery that is still being shaped on the wheel. The imperfections and the cracks are what make us human and beautiful. They are the places where the light gets in. When we accept our ordinary selves with all our flaws, we find a deep sense of compassion for others too. We realize that everyone is just doing their best with what they have. This compassion is the natural outcome of a simple life. When we aren't competing for status or resources, we have more energy to be kind. We can afford to be generous with our smiles and our time. We become a source of comfort for those who are struggling. And in giving that comfort, we find even more joy for ourselves. It is a beautiful cycle that starts with a single moment of awareness. Let us consider the profound stillness that can be found in a simple breath. It is the most basic function of our bodies, yet it is a powerful tool for transformation. When we are stressed or anxious, our breath becomes shallow and fast. But when we consciously slow it down, we send a signal to our entire system that it is safe to relax. Each inhale is an invitation to begin again, and each exhale is a chance to let go of what no longer serves us. This is the ultimate simplicity. We don't need any special equipment or a specific location. We always have our breath with us. It is a constant companion, a silent reminder of our connection to the atmosphere and the world. By paying attention to it, we ground ourselves in the present. We step out of the mental movies of the past and the future and land squarely in the reality of the now. There is a story of a traveler who was caught in a sudden downpour. He ran to take shelter under a large tree where a local farmer was already standing. The traveler was complaining about the rain, how it had ruined his plans and made him miserable. The farmer, on the other hand, was watching the rain with a look of quiet satisfaction. He pointed to the thirsty fields and said that the rain was a blessing for the crops. He explained that without the rain, there would be no harvest, no bread, and no life. The rain was the same for both men, but their experience of it was completely different. One saw a problem, while the other saw a gift. This is the power of perspective. We can choose to see our daily challenges as obstacles, or we can see them as necessary parts of a larger cycle. The ordinary rain is actually a miracle of sustenance. When we align ourselves with the natural flow of things, we find that even the bad days have their own kind of beauty. They provide a contrast that makes the sunny days even brighter. They teach us patience and humility. They remind us that we are not in control of everything, and that is okay. There is a great peace in surrendering to the reality of the moment, whatever it may bring. When we stop fighting against what is, we find the energy to work with what is. This is not a passive state, but an active engagement with life. It is like a surfer who doesn't try to stop the waves, but learns to ride them. We can ride the waves of our daily routines with grace and humor. We can find the rhythm in the chaos. And in doing so, we become a steadying influence on everyone around us. Think about the simple pleasure of a quiet evening. The world slows down, the lights dim, and we have a chance to reflect. In these moments, the noise of the day fades away and we can connect with our inner selves. We can appreciate the safety of our homes, the warmth of our beds, and the simple fact that we made it through another day. These are not small things. For many people in the world, these are unimaginable luxuries. When we realize this, our hearts swell with a natural sense of gratitude. Gratitude is the key that unlocks the door to happiness. It turns what we have into enough, and more. It turns a simple meal into a feast, a small house into a palace, and a stranger into a friend. And the best part is that gratitude is always available to us. We don't have to wait for something good to happen to feel grateful. We can be grateful for the very capacity to feel, to think, and to love. Every ordinary moment is a canvas, and we are the artists. We can choose to paint it with colors of frustration and boredom, or we can choose to use colors of appreciation and wonder. The choice is ours, and it is made 1,000 times a day. Each choice is a small step on the path toward a more meaningful and joyful life. As the sun begins to dip lower in the sky, let us think about the beauty of transitions. The way day turns to night, the way one season flows into another. These are reminders that everything is in a state of constant change. This impermanence, as it is called in the teachings, is not something to be feared. It is what makes life precious. Because nothing lasts forever, every moment is unique and irreplaceable. The ordinary moment we are in right now will never happen again. This specific combination of light, sound, and feeling is a one-time event in the history of the universe. When we truly grasp this, we stop taking our lives for granted. We start to treat every second with the respect it deserves. We become more attentive, more kind, and more alive. There is a quiet dignity in living this way. It doesn't require fanfare or recognition. It is a private celebration between us and the world. It is the practice of being a kind root, quietly nourishing the tree of life from beneath the surface. By finding joy in the ordinary, we become a source of joy for others. Our peace becomes contagious. I once heard of a man who worked as a janitor in a hospital. He didn't just sweep floors, he saw himself as a vital part of the healing process. He would greet patients with a genuine smile, offer a kind word to worried families, and perform his work with such care that the hallways seemed to glow. He found deep purpose and joy in a job that many would consider mundane. He understood that there are no small roles, only small ways of looking at them. His attitude transformed the entire atmosphere of the ward. People felt better just being near him. This is the power of an ordinary life lived with extraordinary intention. We don't need to change what we do, we only need to change why and how we do it. When we infuse our actions with love and presence, we turn the mundane into the sacred. Think of a piece of bread. To make that one slice, it took the earth, the sun, the rain, the farmer, the miller, the baker, and the person who brought it to your table. In a single bite, the entire universe is present. When we eat with this awareness, we aren't just consuming calories, we are participating in a vast web of connection. This realization makes even a simple snack a profound experience. The same is true for everything we touch and use. Our clothes, our tools, our homes, they are all gifts from countless hands and natural processes. When we recognize this, we move through the world with a sense of reverence. We become more careful with our resources and more appreciative of the efforts of others. This is the foundation of a peaceful society. It starts with one person noticing the miracle of a slice of bread. We often think that to make a difference, we need to do something big. We want to start a foundation, write a bestseller, or change the laws of the land. And while those things are wonderful, the most lasting changes often happen in the quietest ways. They happen through the small acts of kindness that no one sees. They happen when we choose to listen instead of judge, to help instead of walk by, and to appreciate instead of complain. These small ripples eventually become a great wave of transformation. By finding peace in our own ordinary moments, we contribute to the peace of the world. We become a living example of what is possible. We show others that happiness is not a prize to be won, but a state of being to be cultivated. There is a wonderful story about a group of students who were trying to find the meaning of life. They traveled to a high mountain to meet a wise hermit. When they found him, he was simply sitting by a small stream, watching the water flow over the rocks. They asked him for the secret to happiness. He didn't say anything for a long time. Finally, he reached into the water, pulled out a smooth, round stone, and handed it to the lead student. He told them to look at the stone. It was plain, gray, and had no special markings. The students were disappointed. They wanted a profound teaching, not a rock. But the hermit explained that the stone had been shaped by the water for thousands of years. It had survived floods, droughts, and the passage of time. It was perfectly itself. It didn't try to be a diamond or a ruby. Its beauty was in its simplicity and its resilience. He told the students that they were like that stone. They didn't need to be anything other than what they were. They just needed to allow the river of life to smooth their rough edges and reveal their true nature. The secret to happiness was to be like the stone, patient, grounded, and content with its place in the world. The students left the mountain with a new understanding. They stopped looking for the meaning of life and started looking for the beauty in their own lives. They realized that every day was a chance to be shaped by their experiences and to grow in wisdom and compassion. This is the essence of finding joy in the ordinary. It is about embracing our own stoneness. It is about recognizing that we are already part of the magnificent mosaic of existence. We don't need to add anything or take anything away. We just need to be present and appreciative. Think about the sound of your own voice. It is a unique vibration that has never existed before and will never exist again. When you speak words of kindness, you are sending a beautiful frequency into the world. When you laugh, you are sharing a bit of your soul's light. These are the small things that make life worth living. We can find joy in the way the air feels in our lungs, the way our muscles move when we stretch, and the way our minds can imagine entire worlds. We are incredible beings living in an incredible world. The only thing that prevents us from seeing this is the fog of our own distractions and desires. But we can clear that fog. We can use the simple tools of awareness and gratitude to bring the world back into focus. We can start right now, in this very moment. Take a deep breath. Feel the weight of your body. Listen to the sounds around you. Look at the colors and shapes in your field of vision. This is it. This is the miracle. There is no need to hurry. There is no need to worry. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should. We are safe, we are loved, and we are part of something beautiful. Let us carry this feeling of peace with us as we move through the rest of our day. Let us be the ones who notice the dust motes dancing in the light and the wildflowers growing in the cracks. For it is in these small, ordinary things that we find the deepest and most lasting happiness. It is the secret of the kind roots, and it is a secret that is waiting for you to discover it, over and over again, in every breath and every step. Let's think about the simple act of waiting. Most of us hate to wait. We feel it is a waste of time, an interruption to our busy schedules. We check our phones, we fidget, we grow impatient. But what if we saw waiting as a gift? What if it was a spontaneous meditation, a chance to simply exist without having to do anything? When we are waiting for a bus, or a doctor, or a friend, we can use that time to tune into our surroundings. We can notice the architecture of the buildings, the expressions on people's faces, the way the clouds are moving across the sky. We can turn a period of frustration into a period of fascination. This shift in attitude can save us so much stress. Instead of fighting against the situation, we can lean into it. We can find a quiet satisfaction in just being. We realize that our value doesn't come from our productivity, but from our presence. Even if we do nothing, we are still contributing our awareness to the world. There is a gentle power in this kind of stillness. It is like a deep pool of water that remains calm even when a stone is thrown into it. The ripples may come, but the depth remains undisturbed. We can cultivate this depth in our own hearts. We can become the calm in the center of the storm. Consider the people who have had a profound impact on your life. Were they the ones who had the most money or the most fame? Or were they the ones who truly listened to you, who made you feel seen and understood, and who shared their quiet peace with you? Usually, it is the latter. Kindness and presence are the most powerful forces in the universe. And they are found in the most ordinary of interactions. A warm greeting, a gentle touch, a sincere, "How are you?" These are the things that build a world of kind roots. They are the small seeds that grow into a forest of compassion. As we move forward, let us remember that every person we meet is also looking for joy in their ordinary moments. They are also struggling with their own worries and fears. When we recognize this, our natural empathy is awakened. We see that we are all travelers on the same path, trying to find our way home. This shared journey is a beautiful thing. It means we are never truly alone. We are connected by 1,000 invisible threads of shared experience and common humanity. When we find joy in the ordinary, we are also celebrating the joy in others. We are acknowledging the inherent worth and beauty of all life. There is a story of a great artist who was asked how he created such beautiful statues. He said that he didn't create them, the statues were already inside the blocks of stone. His job was simply to chip away the extra pieces until the beauty was revealed. Our lives are like those blocks of stone. The joy, the peace, and the beauty are already there, deep inside us. Our task is to chip away the extra pieces, the unnecessary worries, the unrealistic expectations, the constant distractions, until our true nature is revealed. Finding joy in the ordinary is the process of chipping away those extra pieces. It is the art of subtraction, not addition. It is about letting go of what we think we need so we can appreciate what we already have. It is a lifelong practice, but it is one that brings immediate rewards. Every time we notice a small joy, a piece of the fog lifts. Every time we practice gratitude, a layer of the stone falls away. And gradually, the masterpiece of our lives begins to emerge. It isn't a life of grand achievements, but a life of deep meaning and quiet fulfillment. It is a life that is rooted in the simple truths of the present moment. It is a life that is kind, resilient, and full of wonder. This is the path we are walking together. It is a path of small steps and ordinary moments, but it leads to an extraordinary destination, a heart that is truly at peace. Let's take a moment to appreciate the silence that exists between our thoughts. We often think that our minds must be constantly active, constantly solving problems or making plans. But the silence is where the real wisdom lives. It is like the background of a painting that gives context to the shapes and colors. When we learn to rest in that silence, we find a sense of spaciousness that is incredibly liberating. We realize that we are not our thoughts, but the awareness that observes them. This simple realization can dissolve so much suffering. It allows us to step back from our dramas and see the bigger picture. We can find this silence even in the middle of a noisy city. It is always there, underneath the sound of traffic and the hum of electronics. It is the fundamental reality of the universe. By tuning into it, we align ourselves with the cosmic rhythm. There is a deep comfort in this alignment. It feels like coming home after a long journey. It is the peace that passes all understanding. And it is accessible to us at any time, in any place. All we have to do is listen. Think about the way the light changes throughout the day. The soft pinks and oranges of dawn, the bright clarity of noon, the golden warmth of late afternoon, and the deep blues and purples of twilight. Each phase has its own mood and its own beauty. Our lives have their own phases too. There are times of beginnings, times of full expression, times of slowing down, and times of quiet reflection. When we appreciate the beauty of each phase, we stop wishing for things to be different. We accept the natural flow of time and the inevitable changes that come with it. This acceptance is a form of deep joy. It is the joy of being in harmony with life. We realize that we are not separate from the world, but an integral part of it. We are the dawn, we are the noon, and we are the twilight. This sense of connection is the ultimate source of our strength. It means we have the entire universe behind us. We are supported by the earth, nourished by the sun, and guided by the stars. When we live with this awareness, every ordinary moment becomes a sacred communion. I remember a story of a woman who lived in a very small and simple house. She didn't have much, but her home was always filled with a sense of peace and warmth. When asked her secret, she said she treated everything in her house as if it were a living being. She spoke kindly to her plants, she handled her dishes with care, and she kept her rooms clean and orderly. She didn't do this out of a sense of duty, but out of a sense of love. She saw the kind roots in everything. Because she treated her surroundings with respect, they in turn provided her with a sense of comfort and belonging. Her ordinary home became a sanctuary. We can do the same with our own lives. We can treat our bodies, our possessions, and our environments with a sense of sacredness. We can move through our days with a gentle touch and a kind heart. This is the way of the wise traveler. There is a quiet dignity in this approach to living. It doesn't need to be loud or flashy. It is like a soft rain that slowly soaks into the earth and nourishes the roots of the trees. It is the steady work of a lifetime, but it is the only work that truly matters. As we continue on our journey, let us hold on to this feeling of simple appreciation. Let us look for the extraordinary in the ordinary, the sacred in the mundane, and the joy in the present moment. For this is where life is truly lived. This is where we find the kind roots that sustain us and allow us to grow. May you find peace in your breath, joy in your steps, and love in your heart. May your ordinary moments be filled with a quiet light that guides you home. And may you always remember that you are a beautiful and essential part of this magnificent world. Think of the simple pleasure of a deep and restful sleep. After a long day of activities and thoughts, we let go of everything and surrender to the night. In that state of deep rest, our bodies heal and our minds reset. We wake up refreshed and ready for a new beginning. This daily cycle of activity and rest is a beautiful metaphor for the spiritual life. We need to engage with the world, but we also need to return to our own source. Our ordinary moments of rest and reflection are just as important as our moments of achievement. When we value our rest, we bring more energy and focus to our work. We become more efficient and more creative. We realize that we don't have to be on all the time. It is okay to unplug, to slow down, and to just be. This is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of wisdom. It is the practice of self-care and self-compassion. By taking care of our own kind roots, we are better able to serve others and the world. There is a wonderful story about a man who was searching for the key to success. He went to a wise elder and asked for advice. The elder told him that the key to success was to be where your feet are. The man was puzzled. He thought success was about reaching distant goals and achieving great things. But the elder explained that if you are always thinking about the future, you will never do your best in the present. If you are always worrying about the past, you will miss the opportunities that are right in front of you. By being where your feet are, you bring your full power to whatever you are doing. You become more attentive, more precise, and more effective. And more importantly, you find joy in the process, not just the result. This simple advice is the core of finding joy in the ordinary. It is about total engagement with the present moment. Whether you are writing a report, cooking a meal, or talking to a child, be there completely. Don't let your mind wander to the next thing. This level of presence turns any task into a form of art. It turns any interaction into a moment of deep connection. It is the ultimate key to a successful and meaningful life. As we wrap up our time together for now, let's take one last moment to simply be. No words, no thoughts, just the direct experience of being alive. Feel the air, hear the sounds, and notice the light. This is the ordinary miracle that is always available to you. May you carry this awareness with you throughout your day. May you find the hidden treasures in your routine and the quiet joy in your heart. And may you always know that you are right where you need to be. The rhythm of being where your feet are is much like the slow, deliberate movement of a deep river. On the surface, it might seem as though nothing is happening, but underneath, there is a powerful force of life carving through stone and nourishing everything it touches. Have you ever stood by a window on a quiet morning and watched the sky transition from the deep velvet of night into the soft, uncertain gray of dawn? There is no fanfare, no announcement, and no sudden jump. It is a seamless flow of change that teaches us how to move through our own transitions with a quiet, unassuming grace. When we learn to inhabit these quiet intervals, we begin to see that life isn't just a collection of big events, but a continuous stream of small, shimmering pearls. Consider the simple act of putting on your shoes. Most of us do this while thinking about where we are going, whom we are meeting, or the problems we need to solve. But what if for just a moment, you felt the texture of the laces, the way the material supports your feet, and the literal grounding that happens as you prepare to step out into the world? This is a moment of preparation that is just as sacred as the destination itself. In the time of the Buddha, there was a monk named Channa who was often caught up in his past identity and his pride, constantly looking toward a future where he would be recognized. It was only when he learned to find the sacred in the most basic duties of the community, like cleaning the living quarters or tending to the simple needs of his fellow practitioners, that his heart began to soften. He discovered that the weight of his ego could only be dropped in the present moment, in the very middle of a mundane task. When we let go of the need to be somewhere else, we suddenly realize that we are surrounded by a cast of thousands, even when we are alone. The chair you sit on was crafted by someone who had their own dreams and challenges. The light bulb that illuminates your room is the result of centuries of human curiosity and effort. Even the silence of a room is filled with the presence of those who built the walls and the earth that holds the foundation. This realization of interconnection turns an ordinary afternoon into a vast, silent conversation with the entire world. It is impossible to feel truly lonely when you see the fingerprints of humanity on every object you touch. There is a certain humor in our human nature, how we tend to complicate the simplest things. We create elaborate systems to find peace, when peace is often just sitting right there, waiting for us to stop being so busy. Think of a cat napping in a patch of sunlight. It doesn't wonder if it is being productive enough or if other cats are having a more exciting day. It simply accepts the warmth as a total and complete gift. We can invite that same uncomplicated joy into our hearts. When we find ourselves overthinking, we can pause and look at something very small, like the way a drop of water clings to the tap before it falls. In that split second of observation, the heavy clouds of the mind can part, revealing the clear blue sky of awareness. A story is told of a young novice who was frustrated because he felt his meditation was not producing grand visions or deep trances. He complained to an elder that he felt he was just sitting there, doing nothing. The elder smiled and pointed to a large jar of water that had been stirred up, making the silt rise and the water cloudy. He told the novice to just watch the jar. As they sat in silence, the silt slowly settled to the bottom on its own accord, leaving the water crystal clear. The elder didn't have to reach in and pull the dirt out, the stillness did the work. Our ordinary moments are exactly like that. We don't need to fix ourselves or force our minds to be quiet. We just need to give ourselves the space to settle. The clarity is already there, inherent in our nature, once the agitation of trying subsides. It is helpful to remember that even the Buddha spent many of his days in very ordinary ways. He walked for miles, he ate what was offered, he sat under trees, and he spoke with people from all walks of life. His greatness was not in doing things that no one else could do, but in doing the most human things with a heart that was completely free from grasping. He showed us that the path to the infinite starts with the way we handle our bowl and the way we speak to a tired traveler. There is no separation between the spiritual and the material when everything is treated with equal reverence. Have you ever noticed the specific smell of the earth after a light rain? It is a scent that calls to something very old and deep within us. It reminds us that we are made of the same elements as the soil and the stars. When we take a moment to breathe in that fragrance, we are participating in a conversation that has been going on for billions of years. This perspective makes our daily worries seem a bit lighter. Yes, the bills must be paid and the chores must be done, but we are also cosmic participants in a grand, unfolding mystery. We can carry out our responsibilities while holding a corner of our hearts open to the wonder of being part of such a magnificent design. In our interactions with others, we often look for grand gestures of love or loyalty, but the most enduring bonds are built in the small, quiet spaces. It is the way someone remembers how you like your tea, or the way a friend sits with you in comfortable silence when you have had a difficult day. These ordinary acts of kindness are the true glue of the world. They don't require a lot of energy, but they require a great deal of presence. When we are fully there for another person, without an agenda or a distraction, we are offering them a mirror in which they can see their own worth. This is the highest form of charity. I recall an account of a village where the people were very poor, yet they were known for being the happiest people in the region. A traveler arrived and was shocked to see how little they had. He asked the village elder how they could be so joyful when they lacked so many comforts. The elder took him to the center of the village where a large, ancient tree stood. He explained that every morning, the people would gather for a moment to simply look at the tree and thank it for the shade it provided. They didn't focus on the things they didn't have, they focused on the shade that was already there. They understood that happiness is a choice of focus. They chose the tree, they chose the shade, and they chose each other. We often feel that we have to wait for a special occasion, to use the good china, to wear the nice clothes, or to say the things that matter. But every day that we wake up is a special occasion. Every meal is a celebration of life's sustenance. We can treat our ordinary Tuesday with the same respect we give to a holiday. When we do this, we stop living for the future and start living in the now. We find that we don't need a reason to be happy. Happiness becomes the background music of our lives. It doesn't mean we are always smiling or that we don't feel pain, but that there is an underlying sense of well-being that remains constant. Think of the patience of a gardener. They plant a seed and they don't dig it up every 10 minutes to see if it is growing. They provide the water, the soil, and the protection, and then they trust the process. Our lives require the same kind of trust. We plant our intentions of kindness and awareness in the ordinary moments of our day, and we trust that they will bear fruit in their own time. We don't need to see immediate results to know that our efforts are valuable. The very act of tending to our inner garden is where the joy lies. There is a profound beauty in the way a room changes as the sun moves across it. The shadows shift, the colors deepen, and the mood of the space evolves. If we are always looking at our screens or our to-do lists, we miss this silent choreography. But when we look up, we see that the world is constantly performing for us. It is a free show of light and shadow, and all it asks for is our attention. This attention is the currency of our lives. Where we spend it determines the quality of our experience. When we spend it on the ordinary becomes a treasure chest. Consider the feeling of a warm breeze on a summer evening. It is a sensation that is completely fleeting, yet it can bring a sense of absolute peace. We cannot bottle the breeze or keep it for later. We can only experience it as it happens. This is the nature of all our joys. They are like butterflies that land on our shoulders for a moment. If we try to grab them, they fly away. But if we sit very still, they might stay a little longer. Living with this awareness helps us to cherish what we have without becoming desperately attached to it. We learn to enjoy the breeze while it is here and let it go when it moves on. There was a story about an old woman who spent her days sitting on her porch, waving at everyone who passed by. Some people thought she was lonely or had nothing better to do. But one day, a neighbor stopped to talk to her and realized that she was the most observant person in the neighborhood. She knew the names of all the children, she knew which flowers were blooming in which yards, and she could tell the weather just by the way the birds were flying. She told the neighbor that she wasn't just sitting, she was witnessing the miracle of the world moving by. She had turned her porch into a front row seat to the most beautiful play ever written. We can all find our own porch in our daily lives. It might be the commute to work, the time spent preparing a meal, or the quiet moments before sleep. Instead of seeing these as empty times, we can see them as opportunities to witness the miracle. We can notice the architecture of a bridge, the way the light reflects off a window, or the steady beat of our own hearts. When we become witnesses rather than just participants, we find a sense of distance from our stresses and a deeper connection to the essence of life. The world is full of small perfections if we have the eyes to see them. The way a leaf is veined, the way a cat stretches, the way a person's eyes crinkle when they laugh, these are all masterpieces of existence. We don't need to go to a museum to see art, we are walking through a gallery every single day. When we cultivate this artist's eye, our appreciation for life grows exponentially. We start to see that there is no such thing as a boring moment. Boredom is simply a lack of attention. When we look closely enough, everything becomes interesting. I remember a teaching that suggested we treat every person we meet as if they were a hidden Buddha. If we truly believed that the person serving us coffee or the person cutting our hair was a wise and enlightened being in disguise, how would we treat them? Our tone would change, our patience would grow, and our respect would be automatic. This isn't about the other person, it is about our own state of mind. By choosing to see the sacred in others, we activate the sacred in ourselves. We find that the world is much kinder than we thought, simply because we are bringing more kindness to it. This practice of seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary is not a way to escape from reality, but a way to engage with it more deeply. It helps us to handle the inevitable difficulties of life with more resilience. When we have a reservoir of small joys to draw from, the big sorrows don't feel quite so overwhelming. We know that even in the darkest times, the sun will eventually rise, the birds will sing, and the breath will continue to flow. These simple facts become our anchors in the storm. Think of the way a small candle can light up a very dark room. It doesn't need to be a giant spotlight to be effective. In the same way, a small moment of joy can brighten our entire day. We don't need to wait for the big lights of success to feel happy. We can light our own small candles of appreciation all day long. One after another, these tiny lights create a warm and inviting atmosphere in our hearts. There is a gentle rhythm to this kind of living, like the steady ticking of an old clock or the sound of waves lapping against the shore. It is a rhythm that is in sync with the natural world. When we live in this way, we feel less rushed and more at ease. We realize that there is plenty of time for everything that truly matters. We stop chasing the horizon and start enjoying the ground we are standing on. This is the true meaning of a kind root, a soul that is deeply anchored in the goodness of the present moment, drawing nourishment from the simple things and offering shade and comfort to others. Let us think about the way a single stone in a stream can create such beautiful patterns in the water. The stone doesn't do anything, it just stays in its place. The water flows around it, creating ripples and eddies that catch the light. Our presence in the world can be like that stone. By simply being who we are, with a heart of peace and awareness, we create ripples of calm and beauty around us. We don't have to do anything grand to have a positive impact. Our state of being is our greatest contribution. When we are at peace with ourselves, we are at peace with the world. And that peace starts with the smallest, most ordinary things. It starts with the way we breathe, the way we walk, and the way we look at the world. It is a path that is open to everyone, at every moment. There is no entrance fee and no special requirements. You just have to be here, now, and notice the beauty that is already unfolding. The ripples of peace we create are often felt most strongly in the way we handle the simple, recurring rhythms of our domestic life. Think of the quiet resonance of a wooden spoon against a ceramic bowl as you prepare a meal for people you care about. We often view cooking or cleaning as obstacles standing between us and our real life, the life where we finally get to relax or achieve something significant. But when we look through the eyes of a heart that is truly awake, the steam rising from a pot of soup is as sacred as the incense in a grand temple. Every movement of the hand, every choice of seasoning, and every moment of waiting for the water to boil is an opportunity to practice a gentle, attentive love. There is an old story of a monk who was tasked with the duty of being the head cook for a large monastery. Many of the younger monks felt sorry for him, thinking that he was missing out on the hours of silent meditation and the deep study of the scriptures. They saw his work as a distraction from the spiritual path. One day, a high-ranking visitor asked the cook how he managed to maintain such a serene expression while dealing with the heat, the noise, and the pressure of feeding hundreds of people. The cook simply replied that when he washed the rice, he was not just preparing food, he was washing the heart of the community. When he cut the vegetables, he was cutting away his own distractions. He did not see a boundary between the kitchen and the meditation hall. For him, the fire of the stove was the fire of transformation. We can bring this same quality of kitchen wisdom into our own homes. When we tidy a room, we are not just moving objects around, we are creating a space for our minds to settle. When we water a plant, we are participating in the quiet mystery of growth and sustenance. These acts are the silent language of care. They ground us in the physical world and remind us that we are part of a delicate balance. The more we honor these small duties, the more we find that they honor us in return. They provide a structure for our days and a canvas for our mindfulness. Consider the objects you use every day, the ones so familiar you have stopped seeing them. Your favorite mug, the worn handle of a door, the soft texture of a well-used towel. Each of these things has a story, and each one serves you faithfully. In some ancient traditions, it was believed that even inanimate objects possess a kind of spirit, a heart that responds to how they are treated. When we handle our belongings with a sense of respect and gratitude, the environment around us begins to feel more harmonious. We stop being consumers of things and start being companions to them. This shift in perspective removes the frantic energy of wanting more and replaces it with a deep satisfaction in what is already here. Have you ever sat quietly and watched a spider weave its web? It is a marvel of engineering, created with nothing but what the spider carries within itself. The spider doesn't rush, and it doesn't seem to worry about whether the web will be big enough or strong enough. It simply follows the blueprint of its nature, one silk thread at a time. Our lives are woven in much the same way. Every thought, every word, and every small action is a thread in the tapestry of our character. When we focus on making each thread strong and true, the overall pattern takes care of itself. We don't need to see the whole design to know that it is beautiful. This trust in the unfolding of life is a great source of relief. We often carry the heavy burden of trying to control the future, of trying to force things to happen according to our timeline. But nature operates on a different schedule. The seasons change when they are ready, the fruit ripens in its own time, and the tide comes in and goes out without any help from us. When we align our internal rhythm with this natural flow, we find that we have much more energy. We stop swimming against the current and start allowing the current to carry us. This doesn't mean we become passive, but that our actions become more effortless and more effective. In the time of the Buddha, there was a king who was constantly worried about his kingdom, his enemies, and his legacy. He could not sleep, and he could not enjoy the luxuries that surrounded him. He sought out a forest monk who lived in a simple hut with nothing but a straw mat and a water jar. The king asked the monk how he could be so peaceful while the king, who had everything, was so miserable. The monk told the king that the king's heart was like a hand tightly clenched around a handful of sand. The harder he squeezed, the more the sand slipped through his fingers. The monk, however, kept his hand open. The sand rested there peacefully, and he was not afraid of losing it. The ordinary moments of our day are the sand of our lives. If we try to grab them and keep them, they disappear. If we try to force them to be more than they are, we lose their essence. But if we keep our hearts open and receptive, we can appreciate the beauty of each grain. We can find joy in the simple fact that we have this moment, right now, to experience. The open hand is a symbol of a life lived without grasping. It is a life that is ready to receive and ready to let go, moving with the fluidity of the wind. Think about the way you walk from one room to another. Usually, this is just transition time, a gap between two important tasks. But what if the walking itself was the task? What if you felt the air moving against your skin and the rhythmic shifting of your weight? When we turn these gaps into moments of awareness, our whole day becomes a continuous meditation. The boundary between practice and life begins to dissolve. We find that we don't need to go to a special place to find peace, we are carrying it with us in every step. There is a profound freedom in realizing that we don't need to be special to be happy. The world celebrates the winners, the famous, and the powerful, but the true masters of living are often the ones who are completely content with being ordinary. They are the ones who can find wonder in a puddle of rainwater or a piece of toasted bread. They don't need the applause of others to validate their existence because they are already validated by the simple fact of being alive. This ordinariness is actually a high state of realization. It is the ability to see the miraculous in the common. We see this in the way a tree stands in a field. It doesn't try to be anything other than a tree. It doesn't compare itself to the mountains or the clouds. It simply grows, breathes, and offers its leaves to the wind. There is a great dignity in this self-containment. We, too, can find our own center. We can stop looking outside ourselves for the extraordinary and start noticing the vast, quiet depth of our own being. When we are at home in ourselves, every place we go feels like home. Every person we meet feels like a friend. Have you ever noticed the way light filters through the leaves of a tree, creating a dancing pattern of camaraderie on the ground? It is a fleeting, shifting beauty that can never be captured or held. We can only enjoy it while it is there. Our emotions and thoughts are very similar to these patterns of light and shadow. They come and go, they shift and change, but the ground of our awareness remains steady. When we identify with the ground rather than the shadows, we find a stability that is not affected by the changing weather of our lives. This stability allows us to be more present for others. When we are not caught up in our own internal dramas, we have the space to truly see the people around us. We can notice the subtle tired look in a colleague's eyes, or the way a child is trying to show us something they are proud of. We can offer a word of encouragement or a moment of genuine attention that can change someone's entire day. These small acts of connection are the true work of a kind root. They don't require any special talent, only a heart that is willing to be still and look. Consider the simple beauty of a clear night sky. When we look up at the vastness of the stars, our personal problems suddenly seem much smaller. We realize that we are part of an immense and ancient universe that has been unfolding for billions of years. This sense of perspective is very healing. It reminds us that we are not the center of the world, but a small and precious part of a much larger whole. Our ordinary lives are connected to the stars and the galaxies. The same elements that make up the distant suns are present in our own bodies. There is a story of a young monk who was struggling with his temper. He found himself getting irritated by the small noises of the monastery, the way his brothers chewed their food, and the way the wind rattled the doors. He went to his teacher and asked how he could find peace. The teacher told him to take a handful of salt and put it in a glass of water and then drink it. The monk did so and found the water bitter and unpleasant. Then the teacher told him to take another handful of salt and throw it into a large, clear lake. When the monk drank the water from the lake, it was sweet and refreshing. The teacher explained that the salt is our suffering and our irritations. If we have a small heart like the glass of water, even a little bit of salt makes us bitter. But if we have a large heart like the lake, the salt is still there, but it doesn't change the sweetness of the water. Finding joy in the ordinary is the process of making our hearts like the lake. We expand our awareness until the small annoyances of life no longer overwhelm us. We learn to hold everything, the joys and the sorrows, in a vast space of compassion. How do we expand our hearts? We do it through the practice of appreciation. Every time we notice something small and beautiful, our heart grows a little bit larger. Every time we offer a silent thanks for a simple comfort, we become more like the lake. This is not something that happens overnight, but through the accumulation of thousands of ordinary moments. It is a slow and steady deepening of our character. Think of the way a stone is smoothed by the constant flow of a river. It doesn't happen all at once, but through the persistent, gentle touch of the water. Our rough edges are smoothed by the constant flow of our daily experiences, if we meet them with a spirit of openness. The challenges and the delights are both part of the polishing process. We don't need to seek out difficult situations, life provides them naturally. Our job is simply to remain in the stream, to keep our hearts soft and receptive. There is a unique joy in the act of listening to the world. Not just listening to words, but to the sounds of existence. The hum of a refrigerator, the distant bark of a dog, the sound of your own breathing. When we listen without judgment, the world becomes a symphony. We realize that everything is vibrating, everything is expressing itself in its own way. This deep listening is a form of intimacy with life. It is a way of saying, I see you, and I hear you, to the universe. I recall a memory of a man who worked as a woodcutter. He was not a scholar or a philosopher, but he had a way of looking at a piece of wood that was full of reverence. He would study the grain, the knots, and the color for a long time before he ever made a cut. He said that every piece of wood had a song inside it, and his job was to help it sing. He didn't see himself as a master over the wood, but as a servant to its beauty. This humble attitude made his work a joy rather than a chore. He found fulfillment in the simple act of bringing out the best in what was already there. We can apply this woodcutter's wisdom to our own lives. We can look at our days, our relationships, and our own selves with that same spirit of reverence. We can look for the song in the ordinary. Instead of trying to impose our will on life, we can look for what is already trying to emerge. We can be servants to the beauty that is hidden in the common and the mundane. When we live this way, we find that the world is much more supportive and much more miraculous than we ever imagined. Consider the silence of the early morning before the world wakes up. It is a thick, fertile silence that feels full of possibility. In those quiet moments, we can feel the pulse of the earth. We can connect with our own deepest intentions before the noise of the day begins. This morning silence is a sanctuary that is always available to us, even if only for a few minutes. It is a time to ground ourselves and to remember who we really are. When we start our day from this place of stillness, we carry a piece of that sanctuary with us wherever we go. There is a profound beauty in the simple act of breathing. It is the first thing we do when we are born and the last thing we do when we die. In between, it is a constant, rhythmic bridge between our internal and external worlds. When we pay attention to our breath, we are paying attention to life itself. We can feel the cool air entering our nostrils and the warm air leaving. We can feel the rise and fall of our chest. This simple awareness is enough to calm the mind and settle the body. It is a portable piece that we can access at any time. Think about the hands that are reading these words, or the eyes that are seeing them. These are incredible instruments of perception and action. Our bodies are constantly working for us, performing millions of tasks every second without us even knowing it. When we take a moment to appreciate the miracle of our physical existence, we find a deep sense of gratitude. We stop taking our health and our abilities for granted. We realize that every day we can move, see, hear, and feel is a tremendous gift. In the teachings of the Buddha, there is a lot of emphasis on the middle way. This is the path of balance, avoiding the extremes of indulgence and self-denial. Finding joy in the ordinary is a perfect expression of the middle way. It is not about chasing intense pleasures, but it is also not about rejecting the world. It is about finding a sustainable, quiet happiness in the simple things that are already present. It is a path of moderation and contentment. There was once a traveler who was very thirsty. He came across a well, but he didn't have a bucket or a rope. He sat by the well and felt miserable, staring at the water he couldn't reach. A local woman came by and saw his distress. She didn't have a bucket either, but she showed him a hollow reed growing nearby. She taught him how to use the reed to drink the water. The traveler was amazed. He had been looking for a grand solution, a bucket and a rope, and he had missed the simple reed that was right there. Often, we are like that traveler. We are looking for grand solutions to our problems, for big events that will make us happy, and we miss the simple reeds of joy that are scattered all around us. A kind word, a beautiful sunset, a moment of silence, these are the reeds we can use to drink from the well of life. We don't need a bucket, we just need to know how to use what is already there. This ability to see and use the reeds is what makes a life truly wealthy. A wealthy heart is not one that has many things, but one that needs very little to be happy. It is a heart that has found its own internal source of satisfaction. This kind of wealth is immune to the ups and downs of the economy or the whims of fashion. It is a solid foundation that we can build our lives upon. Think of the patience of the seasons. Winter doesn't try to be spring. It performs its own vital work of resting and gathering strength. It accepts the cold and the darkness as necessary parts of the cycle. We can learn to be patient with our own winters. When we feel low, or uninspired, or tired, we can accept it as a time for resting. We don't have to force ourselves to be blooming all the time. There is a quiet joy in allowing ourselves to be exactly where we are, even if where we are is a place of quiet dormancy. There is a sense of relief in letting go of the personal brand we try to project to the world. We spend so much energy trying to look successful, or happy, or wise. But the most attractive quality a person can have is simple authenticity. When we are comfortable with our ordinary selves, others feel comfortable around us too. We create a space where everyone can just be. This is the true power of kind roots. It is a presence that is so grounded and so real that it invites others to find their own roots as well. Consider the way a small bird finds shelter in a thick hedge during a storm. It doesn't need a palace, it only needs a few dense branches to keep it safe. Our ordinary moments are like those branches. They provide us with shelter from the storms of our own making. When the world feels too loud or too demanding, we can retreat into the simplicity of a cup of tea or a short walk. We find that we don't need much to feel safe and secure. This sense of inner security is the greatest treasure we can possess. It means we are not constantly looking for external validation or protection. We have found a refuge within ourselves. And that refuge is built from the materials of our daily lives, our awareness, our gratitude, and our kindness. It is a home that we carry with us, a place of peace that is always open and always welcoming. As we move through the rest of our day, let's keep an eye out for the reeds, and the shade, and the songs of the ordinary. Let's be the ones who notice the beauty that everyone else is too busy to see. And let's remember that our ordinary life is not a waiting room for something better. It is the main event. It is the miracle itself, unfolding one breath at a time. The miracle of the main event is often found in the way we handle the transitions between our tasks, those small, silent corridors of time where we are simply moving from one thing to another. We often treat these moments as empty space, a gap to be filled with checking a phone or worrying about what comes next, yet these are the very places where we can find our most profound rest. Imagine for a moment that every doorway you walk through is a gentle reminder to return to your breath. As you step from the hallway into a room, you take a single conscious breath, noticing the air as it touches your nostrils and the subtle shift in the light of the new space. In this simple act, you are not just moving through a building, you are moving through your life with a heart that is wide awake. There is a quiet power in being the one who notices the small things that others might dismiss as trivial. Have you ever looked closely at the steam rising from a hot bowl of rice? It dances in the air with an elegance that no human choreographer could ever replicate, a swirling, ethereal movement that lasts for only a few seconds before vanishing into the atmosphere. To witness this is to participate in a silent prayer of appreciation for the sustenance that keeps us alive. It reminds us that we are part of a vast, interconnected web of energy where nothing is ever truly lost, only transformed. When we bring this level of attention to our meals, we are not just eating, we are communing with the earth, the sun, and the rain that made the food possible. In the stories of the ancient masters, there is often a mention of the beginner's mind, a state of being where everything is seen as if for the very first time. To a beginner, nothing is ordinary because everything is a discovery. We can reclaim this sense of wonder by looking at our most familiar surroundings with fresh eyes. Look at the texture of the wall in your home, the way the paint has aged, or the pattern of the wood on your desk. These details are the quiet witnesses to your life, and when you truly see them, you feel a deep sense of belonging. You realize that you are not a stranger in the world, but a guest who is being hosted by a million small wonders every day. Consider the simple act of listening to the wind as it moves through the trees. It is a sound that has no agenda, no hidden meaning, and no requirement for you to do anything other than listen. The wind speaks a language of pure presence, whispering through the leaves and carrying the sense of distant places. When we listen without trying to analyze or categorize the sound, we are allowing ourselves to be part of the natural harmony of the world. Our internal noise begins to quiet down, and we find a space of stillness that is both vast and intimate. This is the silence that the Buddha spoke of, a silence that is not the absence of sound, but the presence of a deep and abiding peace. There was once a young woman who was always searching for the perfect moment to be happy. She thought it would happen when she traveled to a beautiful island, or when she fell in love, or when she achieved a great promotion. She spent her life looking at postcards and dreaming of a future that felt far away. One day, while she was sitting on a park bench waiting for a friend, she noticed a small sparrow landing on a nearby branch. The sparrow was shaking the rainwater from its wings and then began to sing a tiny, clear song. In that moment, the woman realized that she didn't need a tropical island or a grand achievement to feel joy. The joy was right there, in the shaking of the wings and the sound of the song. It was a perfect moment because it was the only moment she had. We are all like that young woman at times, waiting for the big events while the small miracles are happening all around us. We forget that the perfect moment is always the one we are in, no matter how ordinary it might seem. A quiet morning with a cup of water, a walk down a familiar street, or a conversation with a neighbor are all opportunities for deep fulfillment. When we stop asking life to be more than it is, it suddenly becomes more than we ever imagined. The pressure to perform or to be extraordinary falls away, and we are left with the simple, beautiful reality of being alive. Think about the way you use your hands throughout the day. They type, they cook, they hold the hands of loved ones, and they carry the weight of your world. Often, we are so focused on what the hands are doing that we forget to appreciate the hands themselves. Take a moment to look at your palms, the lines that tell the story of your life, and the incredible dexterity of your fingers. These hands are instruments of kindness and creativity. When we perform our daily tasks with a sense of gratitude for our bodies, the work becomes lighter. Washing the dishes becomes an act of caring for the home, and writing a letter becomes an act of sharing our heart. This is how we turn the mundane into the sacred. There is a beautiful teaching about the nature of light and shadow. We often prefer the light and try to avoid the shadows, but without the shadows, we would have no sense of depth or perspective. The challenges and the quiet, boring times of our lives are the shadows that give our joys their brilliance. If every day was a spectacular celebration, we would soon become exhausted and lose our ability to appreciate anything. The ordinary moments are the necessary intervals of rest that allow us to process our experiences and gather our strength. They are the background of the painting that makes the colors pop. When we accept the shadows as part of the beauty of life, we find a peace that is not dependent on things always being bright. Consider the patience of a mountain. It stands there for centuries, through storms and sunshine, watching the world change around it. It does not try to move or to be anything other than a mountain. It simply is. We can cultivate a bit of that mountain strength in our own lives. When we feel overwhelmed by the fast pace of the modern world, we can remember that there is a part of us that is as steady and unmoving as a mountain. This part is our inner stillness, the kind root that connects us to the earth. When we tap into this stillness, we realize that we don't have to react to every little thing. We can just be present, watching the clouds pass by without being swept away by them. There is an old story of a monk who was known for his incredible skill in calligraphy. People would travel from far away to watch him write. One day, a student asked him what he was thinking about while he was creating his masterpieces. The monk replied that he wasn't thinking about anything. He was simply being the brush. When the brush moved, he moved. There was no separation between the writer, the brush, and the paper. This state of total absorption is available to us in any task. When you are sweeping the floor, be the broom. When you are driving your car, be the movement. When we lose our sense of a separate self that is doing the work becomes an effortless flow. We find a joy that is not about the result, but about the pure experience of the activity. This sense of flow is one of the greatest secrets of a happy life. It is not found in the pursuit of pleasure, but in the total engagement with the present moment. Whether we are doing something we love or something we consider a chore, we can find this flow by bringing our full attention to it. We stop checking the clock and start noticing the details. We find that the more we give to the moment, the more the moment gives back to us. Our ordinary day is transformed into a series of beautiful, flowing experiences. We become like a dancer who is so lost in the music that they forget they are dancing. Have you ever noticed the way the air feels different at various times of the day? The crisp, cool air of the morning, the heavy warmth of the afternoon, and the soft, damp air of the evening. Each has its own texture and its own story. When we pay attention to these subtle changes, we are connecting with the breath of the world. We realize that we are part of a living, breathing planet that is constantly changing and renewing itself. This connection gives us a sense of vitality and purpose. We are not just living on the earth, we are part of the earth. Our ordinary breath is a small part of the great atmosphere that sustains all life. There is a profound comfort in knowing that we don't have to solve all the mysteries of the universe to be at peace. In fact, many of the most important things in life are beyond our understanding, and that is perfectly fine. We can appreciate the beauty of a flower without knowing the details of its biology. We can enjoy the warmth of the sun without understanding the physics of nuclear fusion. Living with a sense of wonder and humility allows us to be at ease with the unknown. We can trust that life knows what it is doing, even when we don't. This trust is the foundation of a relaxed and joyful heart. Think about the way a single candle flame can dance even in the slightest breeze. It is fragile, yet it persists. Our joy can be like that flame. It might be flickered by the winds of change or the challenges of daily life, but it has a core of light that remains. We can protect this flame by being gentle with ourselves and by choosing to focus on the things that bring us peace. We don't need a giant bonfire of happiness. A small, steady flame is enough to light our way through the dark. And as we carry our light, we might find that it helps others to find their own. There is a story of a traveler who found a beautiful garden in the middle of a desert. He was amazed that such a place could exist in such a harsh environment. He asked the gardener how he managed to keep the plants alive. The gardener showed him a hidden spring deep underground that provided a constant source of water. He said that the secret was not in the surface, but in the roots. If the roots were connected to the spring, the plants could survive anything. Our ordinary moments of mindfulness and gratitude are our connection to that hidden spring. They nourish our kind roots and allow us to flourish even when the external world feels like a desert. How do we stay connected to that spring? We do it by making a conscious choice to return to the present moment, over and over again. It is a practice of remembering. We remember to notice the light, we remember to feel our breath, and we remember to be kind to ourselves. Every time we remember, we are taking a sip from the well of joy. It doesn't matter how many times we forget, what matters is that we keep coming back. Each return is a victory. Each return is a fresh start. This is the gentle path of the practitioner, a path that is built one ordinary step at a time. Consider the simple beauty of a bowl of clear water. It has no color, no flavor, and no shape of its own, yet it is essential for all life. It reflects the sky and the trees, and it takes the shape of whatever container it is in. We can be like that water, clear, flexible, and life-giving. By letting go of our rigid opinions and our desire for things to be a certain way, we become more receptive to the beauty around us. We can reflect the light of the world without being stained by it. This clarity of heart is a source of immense peace. It allows us to see things as they really are, without the distortion of our fears and desires. I recall the memory of an elderly man who spent his afternoon sitting on a bench in a busy city square. He didn't read or talk to anyone, he just sat and watched. When a curious passerby asked him what he was doing, he said he was practicing being. He explained that most people are so busy doing that they forget how to just be. He had spent his whole life running from one thing to another, and now he was finally learning how to sit still. He said that in the stillness, he had discovered a world that was more vibrant and beautiful than any he had seen while he was running. He had found the joy of pure existence. We don't have to wait until we are elderly to practice being. We can find moments of pure existence throughout our day. While we are waiting for the kettle to boil, or while we are sitting in traffic, we can stop doing for just a few seconds and just be. We can feel the weight of our body, the rhythm of our breath, and the presence of the world around us. These tiny islands of being, in the middle of our sea of doing, are incredibly refreshing. They remind us that we are more than our accomplishments and our schedules. We are living beings, and that is enough. There is a unique kind of joy in the act of letting go. We often think that happiness comes from getting what we want, but a deeper and more lasting happiness often comes from letting go of the need for things to be different. When we let go of a grudge, or a worry, or an unrealistic expectation, we feel a sense of lightness and freedom. It is like putting down a heavy backpack that we didn't even realize we were carrying. Our ordinary moments become much more enjoyable when we are not trying to control them. We can allow life to unfold in its own way, trusting that we have the resilience to handle whatever comes. Think about the way a tree sheds its leaves in the autumn. It doesn't cling to them or mourn their loss. It simply lets them go, knowing that it is part of the natural cycle of life. By letting go, the tree prepares itself for the rest of winter and the renewal of spring. We can follow the example of the tree. We can let go of the day's stresses before we go to sleep, and we can let go of the past as we step into the future. Each act of letting go is an act of trust in the process of life. It creates space for new joys and new insights to emerge. In the teachings of the Buddha, there is a strong emphasis on right effort. This is not the effort of forcing or striving, but the effort of gentle persistence. It is like the effort a mother uses to hold a sleeping child, firm enough to keep the child safe, but soft enough not to wake them. We can apply this right effort to our practice of finding joy in the ordinary. We don't have to try too hard or make it a difficult chore. We just have to be gently persistent in our awareness. We keep bringing our mind back to the present, like a kind shepherd leading a wandering sheep back to the flock. Over time, the mind becomes more settled and the joy becomes more natural. There was a story about a man who was looking for a lost treasure. He traveled to distant lands, climbed high mountains, and searched through ancient ruins. After many years of searching, he returned home, tired and discouraged. As he sat down in his own garden to rest, he noticed something sparkling in the dirt at his feet. He dug it up and realized that it was the very treasure he had been looking for all along. It had been buried in his own backyard the whole time. The treasure of joy is exactly like that. We think it is something we have to find in some special place or some future event, but it is actually buried in the ordinary moments of our daily lives. We just have to stop looking so far away and start looking right where we are. This realization is both humbling and empowering. It means that we already have everything we need to be happy. We don't have to change our lives or become someone else. We just have to wake up to the beauty that is already here. Every breath, every step, and every heartbeat is a part of that treasure. When we live with this awareness, our ordinary life becomes a rich and rewarding journey. We find wealth in our simplicity and light in our daily routines. Consider the beauty of a quiet, starlit night. The darkness allows the stars to shine with an intensity that is hidden during the day. In the same way, the quiet and perhaps darker times of our lives allow the light of our inner peace to be more visible. When we are not distracted by the noise and the busyness of the world, we can connect more deeply with our own soul. We can hear the whispers of our intuition and the steady beat of our courage. These quiet moments are not empty, they are full of the presence of our true self. There is a profound sense of peace that comes from knowing that we are exactly where we are supposed to be. We are not late, we are not behind, and we are not lost. We are right here, in the middle of our own unique life. Every ordinary moment has led us to this point, and every ordinary moment from now on will lead us forward. When we accept our place in the world, we stop fighting against reality and start working with it. We find a sense of ease and flow that makes every day a gift. As we move through the rest of our day, let's keep our eyes open for the sparkles in the dirt. Let's be the ones who find the beauty in the steam, the wind, and the quiet transitions. Let's remember that our ordinary life is the canvas upon which we are painting a masterpiece of awareness and joy. And let's cherish every single stroke of the brush, no matter how small or simple it might be. Every stroke of the brush in this masterpiece of daily living is a testament to our capacity for presence, much like the slow and patient growth of an ancient tree that deepens its roots long before it reaches for the sky. When we look at the world through this lens of patient observation, we start to see that even the things we once labeled as chores are actually invitations to intimacy with the world. Think of the way you handle a simple piece of fruit, perhaps a small orange or an apple. Before you take a bite, have you ever felt the coolness of its skin, or noticed the way the light catches the tiny pores on its surface? This fruit is a gift from the rain, the soil, and the long hours of sunshine. By taking a single moment to appreciate its journey to your hand, you are turning a mundane snack into a profound connection with the life force of the planet. There is a quiet dignity in the way we care for our immediate surroundings, a form of respect that radiates outward and touches everyone who enters our space. When you fold a piece of clothing with care, smoothing out the wrinkles with the palm of your hand, you are practicing a form of tenderness that calms the nervous system. It is a way of saying that your life and the objects that support it are worthy of your time and your attention. In the history of the forest dwellers who followed the path of the Buddha, there was a great emphasis placed on the cleanliness of one's bowl and the neatness of one's sleeping mat. This wasn't out of a rigid desire for order, but because they understood that an orderly environment reflects and supports an orderly mind. When the space around us is treated with reverence, our internal chaos begins to subside, and we find it much easier to stay anchored in the present. Imagine a world where we didn't rush through the in-between moments, but instead treated them as the very substance of our joy. While you are waiting for a computer to start, or for a pot of tea to steep, can you feel the weight of your body in the chair? Can you hear the subtle hum of the world moving around you? These small pockets of time are not empty, they are full of the potential for rest. We often feel that we must always be producing something, but the earth itself has seasons where it simply rests under the snow, gathering the strength it needs to bloom in the spring. Your moments of doing nothing are your internal winter, a necessary time for your spirit to recharge and for your roots to grow deeper into the soil of your own being. Consider the soft, rhythmic sound of rain tapping against a roof. It is one of the most ancient sounds in the world, a melody that has comforted living beings for millions of years. When we sit and listen to the rain without thinking about how it might delay our plans or ruin our commute, we are participating in a timeless meditation. We are reminded that we are part of a cycle that is much larger than our individual concerns. The rain doesn't care about our schedules, it simply falls because that is what it does. There is a great freedom in surrendering to these natural forces. It teaches us that we don't have to be the director of every scene in our lives. We can simply be a member of the audience, appreciating the performance of nature with a heart full of wonder. There is a story of a traveler who was walking through a dense forest when he came across a group of woodcutters. Some were complaining about the heat, the bluntness of their axes, and the weight of the logs. But one man was working with a quiet, steady rhythm, a slight smile on his face. When the traveler asked him how he could be so cheerful during such difficult labor, the man replied that he wasn't just cutting wood. He was listening to the sound of the axe meeting the tree, he was feeling the strength in his own arms, and he was smelling the fresh scent of the pine. He said that the work was only hard if he was thinking about the end of the day. If he was only thinking about the current swing of the axe, the work was a dance. This shift in focus is available to all of us, whether we are sitting at a desk, walking to the market, or caring for a loved one. When we stop living for the end of the day, and start living for the current swing of the axe, the quality of our lives changes instantly. The fatigue that comes from resistance is replaced by the energy that comes from engagement. We find that we have a hidden reservoir of strength that is only accessible when we are fully present. This is the secret of the kind roots, the ability to draw nourishment from the very tasks that others find draining, simply by changing the way we relate to them. Think of the way a small child looks at a common pebble. To them, it is a treasure of color, shape, and texture. They don't have a category for just a rock. Everything is unique, everything is fascinating. As we grow older, we tend to put things into boxes and label them as ordinary or unimportant. But the truth is that nothing is ordinary. Every single atom in that pebble has a history that stretches back to the beginning of time. Every person you pass on the street is a walking universe of stories, memories, and dreams. When we peel back the labels we have placed on the world, we find a reality that is vibrant and overflowing with mystery. There is a profound sense of ease that comes from knowing you don't have to be extraordinary to be deeply happy. The pressure to be special or to stand out from the crowd is a heavy burden that many of us carry without even realizing it. But look at the grass in a meadow. Each blade is simple and unassuming, yet together they create a beautiful, waving sea of green. You are like a blade of grass, perfectly fine exactly as you are. Your value doesn't come from being better than anyone else, it comes from the fact that you are a living, breathing part of the whole. When you embrace your own ordinariness, you find a quiet confidence that doesn't need to be loud or boastful. You can just be yourself, and that is more than enough. I remember an account of a man who spent his life studying the stars, trying to understand the secrets of the cosmos. One night, after hours of looking through his telescope, he went outside to get a drink of water from a well. As he looked down into the dark water of the bucket, he saw the reflection of the very stars he had been studying. He realized that the same light that was millions of miles away was also right there in his hand. This is the essence of our journey. The peace and the beauty we seek in the distance are often reflected in the simplest things right in front of us. We don't need to travel to the edges of the universe to find the sacred. We only need to look into the bucket of our daily lives. Consider the simple beauty of a clear glass of water. It has no color, no flavor, and no shape of its own, yet it is essential for all life. It reflects the sky and the trees, and it takes the shape of whatever container it is in. We can be like that water, clear, flexible, and life-giving. By letting go of our rigid opinions and our desire for things to be a certain way, we become more receptive to the beauty around us. We can reflect the light of the world without being stained by it. This clarity of heart is a source of immense peace. It allows us to see things as they really are, without the distortion of our fears and desires. Have you ever noticed the way shadows change as the sun moves across a room? It is a silent, slow-motion dance that happens every day, yet we rarely take the time to watch it. If we sit for just 10 minutes and observe the movement of the light, we begin to feel a sense of harmony with the passage of time. We realize that everything is in flux, and that there is a beauty in that constant change. The shadows remind us that light is always present, even when it is hidden. They teach us to appreciate the depth and the contrast that make our lives interesting. Without the shadows, the light would have no meaning. In the teachings of the ancient traditions, there is a concept of finding the path in the household. This means that the highest spiritual realizations are not reserved for those who live in caves or monasteries, but are available to anyone who lives their daily life with awareness and kindness. Every interaction with a family member, every task at work, and every moment of rest is a part of the path. When you listen to a friend with your whole heart, you are practicing deep compassion. When you handle a difficult situation with patience, you are practicing wisdom. Your ordinary life is your monastery, and your daily routines are your sacred rituals. Think about the feeling of a soft breeze on your skin on a warm afternoon. It is a sensation that lasts for only a few seconds, yet it can bring a feeling of absolute contentment. You cannot grab the breeze, and you cannot keep it in a bottle. You can only experience it in the moment it arrives. This is the nature of all our joys, they are fleeting and precious. When we try to cling to them, we lose the very essence of what made them beautiful. But when we allow them to come and go, we find that there is always another breeze, another moment of grace waiting just around the corner. There is a unique joy in the act of being present for someone else's ordinary moment. When you see a stranger lost in thought, or a child playing with a blade of grass, and you simply witness their existence with a kind heart, you are building a bridge of connection. You are acknowledging that their life is just as real and just as important as your own. This simple act of witnessing is a powerful form of love. It reminds us that we are not alone in our journey, but are part of a vast community of beings who are all trying to find their way home. I recall a story of an old woman who lived in a very small village. She was known for having the most beautiful garden, even though she didn't have any expensive tools or rare plants. When asked her secret, she said she simply talked to her flowers every day. She didn't use many words, she just sat with them and appreciated their presence. She saw the beauty in every leaf and every petal, and the plants responded to her care. Her garden was a reflection of her own heart, simple, peaceful, and full of life. She didn't need to go anywhere to find happiness, she had created a world of joy right in her own backyard. We can all be gardeners of our own hearts. We can plant seeds of gratitude and water them with our attention. We can pull out the weeds of worry and judgment by returning to the present moment. And over time, we will find that a beautiful garden of inner peace begins to bloom. It doesn't happen all at once, but through the small, daily acts of care and awareness. Every ordinary moment is an opportunity to tend to our garden. Every breath is a chance to start fresh. Consider the silence of a library or a quiet room. It is a space where the noise of the world is turned down, and we can finally hear our own thoughts. But the true silence is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of a deep and abiding peace within ourselves. We can find this silence even in the middle of a noisy city if we know how to look for it. It is the space between our thoughts, the stillness at the center of our being. When we connect with this silence, we find a sense of clarity and strength that can handle any external chaos. There is a profound beauty in the simple act of breathing. It is the first thing we do when we are born and the last thing we do when we die. In between, it is a constant, rhythmic bridge between our internal and external worlds. When we pay attention to our breath, we are paying attention to life itself. We can feel the cool air entering our nostrils and the warm air leaving. We can feel the rise and fall of our chest. This simple awareness is enough to calm the mind and settle the body. It is a portable peace that we can access at any time, in any place. Think about the hands that are reading these words, or the eyes that are seeing them. These are incredible instruments of perception and action. Our bodies are constantly working for us, performing millions of tasks every second without us even knowing it. When we take a moment to appreciate the miracle of our physical existence, we find a deep sense of gratitude. We stop taking our health and our abilities for granted. We realize that every day we can move, see, hear, and feel is a tremendous gift. There was a traveler who came across a group of people who were all staring at a single flower growing by the side of the road. He asked them why they were so interested in such a common plant. One of the people replied that they weren't just looking at a flower, they were looking at the entire universe. They saw the sun in the color of the petals, the rain in the dew on the leaves, and the earth in the strength of the stem. They realized that the flower couldn't exist without everything else. This sense of interbeing is the key to finding joy in the ordinary. Nothing exists in isolation. Everything is connected to everything else. When we see the world this way, we realize that we are never truly alone. We are connected to the trees, the clouds, the animals, and all other human beings. Our ordinary moments are part of a vast, cosmic dance. When you take a step, the whole earth moves with you. When you breathe, you are breathing the same air that has been breathed by millions of beings before you. This realization gives our lives a sense of depth and meaning that is far beyond our individual concerns. We are part of something magnificent, and every ordinary moment is a chance to celebrate that connection. Imagine the feeling of waking up and realizing that you don't have to do anything to be worthy of love and happiness. You are worthy simply because you exist. This simple truth is the foundation of a peaceful life. It removes the need for constant striving and allows us to rest in our own being. We can move through our day with a sense of ease and grace, knowing that we are already enough. This doesn't mean we stop trying to improve ourselves or help others, but that we do so from a place of fullness rather than a place of lack. Consider the beauty of a sunset. It is a spectacle of color and light that happens every day, yet it never gets old. Every sunset is different, and every one is a reminder of the ending of a cycle and the beginning of a time of rest. When we stop to watch a sunset, we are acknowledging the natural rhythms of life. We are allowing ourselves to be part of the transition from day to night. It is a moment of quiet reflection, a time to let go of the day's worries and prepare for the stillness of sleep. There is a unique kind of joy in the act of sharing an ordinary moment with someone else. A quiet meal, a walk in the park, or even just sitting together in silence can be more meaningful than any grand event. These moments of simple connection are what build strong and lasting relationships. They are the kind roots that hold us together through the storms of life. When we value the ordinary time we spend with others, we are showing them that their presence is what matters most to us. We are creating a foundation of trust and love that doesn't need any special occasion to be felt. As we move toward the final stages of our journey for today, let's hold on to this feeling of simple appreciation. Let's look for the miracles in the common and the sacred in the mundane. Let's remember that our ordinary life is a precious gift, and that every moment is a chance to experience joy and peace. We don't need to search far and wide for the meaning of life. It is right here, in the breath we are taking and the world we are seeing. Think about the way the light filters through the trees, creating a mosaic of brightness and shadow on the ground. It is a beauty that is constantly shifting and changing, yet it is always there if we look for it. Our lives are like that light, full of shifting patterns and changing moods, yet always held by a deeper sense of presence. When we align ourselves with that presence, we find a stability that can handle anything. We become like the kind roots, deeply anchored, quietly growing, and always offering shade and comfort to the world. May you continue to find joy in your ordinary moments, and may your heart be always open to the beauty of the present. There is a great peace waiting for you in the simple things, a peace that is as steady as the earth and as vast as the sky. You only need to be here, now, to receive it. Every ordinary step you take is a step toward home. Every ordinary breath you take is a breath of freedom.